What's up, guys? It's Chris. Welcome to P2P Pigeons. So, my fucking iPhone is definitely taking a shit on me. Even the rear-facing camera now is having sound issues, so I can't even, like, split the two, use this camera for the rear-facing or the front-facing and whatnot. Anyway, so, yeah, I know that this quality is going to be a little bit less than what it normally is, but not drastically or anything. I think it may be getting time for me to see about investing in a new phone, so I'm probably going to be doing that soon. Anyway, that's, of course, that's not why I'm not filming that for this, or filming this for that. So I promised the next video that I would release the names for the winners, the giveaways. Jacob Ezel and EJ8 Sedan. You two guys. So if you all want your shirts, DM me and I'll get them to you. Of course, you winning is requisite is that you fucking actually watch the video and know that you won, because I'm not going to try and search you out. So I'll give you till the end of the weekend to claim your prize. If not, then I will put them out again, or I'll pick new names from the K20 video or the K-series video. So anyway, here, not clickbaity, I actually want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about this before because I was going back and forth with the guy for like a week. And another learning experience for me for a couple of reasons. Okay, so one, my initial contact with dude wasn't the best. I was at work, I was running for parts at the, I was at a dealership trying to pick up stuff. And I guess the guy asked me for a P2P0 build or whatnot. And at first, I'm thinking P2P. I'm thinking Y7. I'm thinking Y7. So I'm thinking the guy's asking me to put Vitara pistons on Y7 rods. And I'm like, that would be a waste of time, which is what I said. And he's like, nah, I'm not talking about stock rods. And he got all agitated and shit. He's like, pretty much, borderline, like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about type shit. And I was like, well, once I sat down and I thought about it for a second, I was like, oh, okay, P2P0, those are supposed to be the custom length rods, the I-beams. And I was like, okay, so nobody's ever I've never considered it a P2P0 build before, I've always think the custom length rods, right? So, because I was thinking P2P, I thought he was misspelling or mistyping P2P, because normally people would even say P2P, but they would just say stock rods or Y7 rods or whatever. But I was, I figured, there's a lot of people who try to hit me up and try to use big words to make themselves seem smarter than what they are. And it's not knock to the guy. I wasn't upset. I didn't get mad or agitated about it. I was just kind of frustrated at first. And then he was like, oh, well, never mind. I'm not even going to do it. I'll just find somebody else. I was like, well, fine, because I don't really want to deal with cutting a D-series anyway. A lot of people hit me up for work, and they don't follow through, and they flake. And then some people who really do hound me that I think are serious, I turn down because I don't have the time or whatnot. But anyway, I made time because, when people DM me or whatnot, or people start following me on Instagram, I check them out to see if we got mutual friends. And a mutual friend of ours is Ariel, and because he mentioned I did one of his boys' builds, and I'm thinking Ariel was the guy that recommended him to come to me or whatnot. So anyway, we eventually talked again, and we decided that we were gonna do this. And he's like, the P2P0, right, the custom linked I-beam. So me and possibly you are under the impression that these are no notch required, right? And that is partially true. It does clear the girdle. And I'll show you right quick. It does clear the girdle. No notching on the girdle, but it does not at all clear the fucking the cylinder walls. I had to notch. So okay. So here's the first thing, right? So I get the block loaded up, or I get everything picked up. He drops off at the job. I bring it home, get on the engine stand, start cleaning up some stuff, check ring gap to see what the NPR rings come at, and make the decision to calculate what I'm going to cut them to. And then I was like, all right, well, let me go ahead and drop these fucking, let me drop a piston rod in here real quick before I start gapping rings, because I almost started gapping rings, and I was like, clunk, it hit. I was like, oh, okay, and it hit nasty. As a matter of fact, guys, the Skunk 2 rods I had, it required very minimal notching. It actually, if you remember, if you watched that old video, I thought they were not going to need notching at all because it cleared. It cleared until I had all four in a row, and then it was grazing the walls. Not like bad, but it was touching. So contact was being made, had to be cut. But these were a full-on smack. This is a very full-on thud. It made a good size mark, not like, of course, a damaging mark, but a very visible mark on the rod. It was definitely making full contact. So as far as the P2P0 recommendation goes, I'm going to say get them, but only for the reason, the fact that you don't have to cut the girdle, and that literally saves you hours worth of work. Because it is hours. It's hours. It took me like an hour and a half to cut. Now on a positive side, this is the third Vitara that I've done, and like the fourth block that I've notched. So I think that I've gotten a good eye for it now, because it was a one and done type deal. I put one rod in, and I marked it up, and then I started cutting the block, and then I eyeballed that cut to do the other three, and of course I got a good look for them. I stood over top of it and everything. And I was just like, okay, that looks about what I would expect to be for the last time I cleared. And I started putting the rods in one at a time, and sure enough, it fucking cleared first time go. So the good thing about that is it makes me feel a whole lot better about doing more of these Vitara builds. And I have 3 single cam blocks. So one of them supposed to have a healthy crank in it. And I trust the guy I got it from, so I believe that it does have a healthy crank, and I'm going to be doing another one. So the idea is maybe get these P2P0. I don't remember the price on them. It might be closer to 300. But if I'm going to be paying close to 300 bucks for rods compared to $220 for knockoff rods I got to do more cutting for, then I think that I would go with the P2P0, because that the extra money I'm paying would be saving on labor, not having to notch the girdle. I was really happy about that. I was really happy about the first time go, so that makes me feel a whole lot better about doing more of these Vitara engines, because this is still one of the most popular ones that people request from me. But with that being said too, though, guys, like I told Buddy, the reason why I didn't, I've had this engine sitting here now, this is the second week, and initially I told him I could do it overnight, because if I didn't have to notch, the only thing that was going to be a big deal was me gapping rings and then just putting it all together. So I couldn't do everything the first night because I was missing main bolts. Now I'm still missing a main bolt. So I've got to wait for that before I can finish the build. But I'm going to gap rings tomorrow night. Put them on the fucking pistons, get the pistons in here, torque those down to the crank. And I'll wait for that last bolt before it'll be done. But anyway, so another thing that held us up was like, well, dude, I told you like 300 bucks, but I also sent my clip and my labor prices, and it's very clear there. The labor price goes up $350 if I have to if I have to notch the block. So I was like, dude, well, we're going up in price here, man. Like I told him he was going to go up in price, and I sent the picture to show how much in price it would go up, but I guess he kind of glanced over it because he's like, well, how much are we talking? I'm like, it's an extra $350. And he's like, oh, well, that's a lot of money. I was like, of course, but it's a lot of labor. And then I was like, well, my original thing I said was 300, so I'll knock off the 50 bucks. Well, luckily for both of us, I guess, or luckily for me, he happened to have a K24A2 head that he's selling, and he's selling it for 250. So we'd already agreed that he's going to give me that head plus 50 bucks to cover my labor. So when the price went up an extra 350, it wasn't. I'm still getting paid for my initial labor, plus I'm getting the head that I want. And there's a good chance that I might put that head on that block. Alright, so, yeah, I guess that we're going to maybe P2P0 discussion here. I don't want to make this clickbaity and shit. I did talk about the rods. I guess I would still recommend them. I don't know if they're the exact same design that Speed Factory uses. Speed Factory does have a disclaimer saying minimal notching may be required or whatnot. I would still very much love to get my hands on a set of those to see exactly what they come out looking like. But for right now, I will say that the P2P0 rods, if you can find those and you can't find the Speed Factory rods, or they're not in stock or whatnot, that's definitely a good alternative source to go to. As far for me right now, what I'm planning on doing, I lost a whole week in limbo because I was waiting on this guy to tell me whether or not he was going to go with the build. Because it was like, well, he doesn't want to pay that much money. I'm like, all right, well, fine. I'll just, I'll give everything back to you. And I did push a little bit, not push. It's not like I'm desperate for the money. Initially, I was going to turn him down, saying no. But the problem with me was, man, it's like, so he came to the job. I picked up everything. I put it in the trunk of my car. Had to lug all this shit around. I put it on the engine stand. I took my K20 off. I spent my time, cleaning the surfaces and everything. I had to take the crank back out because he had the crank bolted in, but I had took that back out to clean the fucking journals. There's just a lot of stuff that I spent. I spent an hour on it the first night just prepping it for the build, and then for me to have to give everything back to him, take it, load it back in the trunk, and take it back. So it was wasted labor, wasted time, So I was, so I was trying to give the dude every benefit of the doubt to try and move forward with his deal, and I'm happy we did make that decision because it would have fucking blown if I had to spend time doing some shit for no profit at all. And mainly the thing that made me salty was the lost time because all I have to do is gap rings and I can assemble my block. So I lost that time because I had this sitting on the stand, and I don't want to shuffle them back and forth. I don't want to take off this engine block, put that engine block back on, and then he calls me and tells me, hey, we're gonna do it, and then I gotta take it off again and put this engine stand back on. So I didn't want to deal with that hassle. So anyway, like I ranted on this like around the time of the beginning of the year when I went to Formula D, where some kid sent me fucking money through, he hit me up through my DMs or whatnot, and he's like, "Oh, I want to send you money for a build," and he sent me the money, and then a couple of days later, when I wasn't getting the block fast enough, I had to source one. He was like, "Oh, just give my money back," so I had to refund him, right? And it's just the fact that if I had spent the money, then I was going to have to dig into my pockets or dig into my next paycheck, to get that money out. And it's just wasted time because, wasted my, time going back and forth in DMs and, making all this planning and searching for parts, and then for it to not happen. So I decided then I was going to tax. Like, if you guys want to do that, then I'm going to, I'm going to take a chunk of money for wasting my time. And that's the same thing for this from now on too. Because this guy, of course, he's local. Another thing is I got bitched at for having dude come to the work. I was stupid. I guess I didn't really think about that. I didn't think that through. But yeah, dude came out of job and was like, hey, you're swapping parts back and forth on company property. And I kind of felt like a fucking idiot after that. But I was like, yeah, so I got chewed out of work, lost some personal time, spent labor. So from now on, anytime I do this again, I pick up. If somebody's going to drop off something, yes, you don't have to pay me up front for me to get the build. I don't mind taking payments. But I do need a non-refundable $50 fucking deposit from now on, and I think $50 is more than fucking generously fair for doing this because $50 isn't shit. That's when I'm making like $200 a day at an 8-hour job, what the fuck is $50 but a little goddamn drop in the bucket. So yeah, I guess another learning experience with dealing with local shit. So hopefully this will be done in the next day or two, and by the end of the weekend, I can have my K20 back on here and finished. And I haven't forgot about the Integra, but because the way my schedule was last weekend, I only had one day off. Of course, I wasn't going to take that one day off to go out and work on the car. So this weekend, I hope to get outside and get on the Integra again. And we'll see if we can get that turned on. Holy. Alright guys, this isn't the video I originally had planned. I'm going to do K versus B series cost and performance here coming up pretty soon. And it's going to be the cheapest routes to do these swaps. And so stick around for that. And I guess we're going to talk about some more shit here in the near future too. Alright guys, thanks for watching and peace.